So I was going to give you that update because I was like, I want to get done. I have those, and then what can you let it take the teams of
I'll get the end. As you guys are coming in, just a reminder, if you got your name tag and didn't sign in, or signed in and didn't get your name tag, make sure you do both. And also, we are recording this session for our remote campuses. So just note, if you're sitting close to the cart, your conversations will be recorded. It's a very sensitive mic, so just fair warning. Don't talk about anybody you don't want to talk about. Sorry for the interruption. It's time for my public service announcement again. If you signed up on the paper but did not get your name tag or vice versa, make sure you do both. The name tags are going to come into play later. And then our nice little stand right here, if you sit anywhere within a close vicinity of it, it will pick up your conversations, and we're recording for our remote campuses. So just know whoever you talk about while you're sitting close to that cart is going to be recorded. Thanks.
Well, I park good. I always park on that side of the back
Your voice will not be recorded on the front row, if anybody would like a front row seat.
I don't feel the love anymore, you know, I miss the start of work. You know, everybody was calling, or they needed something now, it's like, okay, we just sit around for our thumbs here. Yeah. Feel here. Glad y'all here.
This is my final public service announcement before we begin our presentations. We are recording this session for our remote campuses that are unable to travel here today. But I did want to make you aware, please try to not bump the cart if you need to step out. And anyone close to the vicinity of the cart, your conversations will be recorded. And it does pick up voices very well. So just so that you're aware, that's my warning. So our presenters have to stay on a certain X over here while they present. So while it may look like we are not as engaging by walking closer to you, we do have to stay on our certain little being recorded spot over here. So with that, I'm going to turn the mic over to Elizabeth.
So yes, this staying in one spot is going to be hard, I think, for all the presenters. We're used to doing at least a little bit of walking back and forth, so if you see us start walking and then get motioned by somebody to move back to the spot, that's just because we're used to walking around. Howdy. Howdy. You look great in pink, everybody. Many of you supporting our breast cancer awareness wear pink or pink out, so thank you for doing that. My name is Elizabeth Schwartz. I'm the Interim Vice President for Human Resources and Organizational Effectiveness, and I'm so happy to be having a liaison meeting again, so welcome. Someone shared with me an anecdote that we actually hadn't had an in-person meeting since 2016. So we've had, of course, a lot of meetings, Workday forums, many things focused on Workday, and we had a recorded virtual meeting in 2017, but we haven't had an actual meeting. So for how many of you, this is your first HR liaison meeting? Quite a few. That's great. Welcome. Welcome. So let's see, I have my notes just to make sure I cover what I need to. We are very excited to be back on a regular schedule this year of having HR liaison meetings. I think today you'll find it very informative. You'll get practical tips about Workday from each of the departments, and you'll hear about some exciting new initiatives that we have going on. So we're really just happy that you made time on Halloween, and I see some of the costumes. Love that too, so thank you for those that dressed up today. That's really fun. So for our division, since our last meeting, we have had a little bit of reorganization, and of course we have an active search going on right now for a new vice president. Amy Smith, the senior vice president, chief communications and marketing officer. See, I'm trying to walk. Try not to do that. Make myself stay. Who is leading the search. And you probably saw on the slides before we started that Tricia Landers is serving as Interim Director of Total Rewards. I'm going to bring Tricia up so she can get on the camera for a moment, on the video, on the blue X. So here's Tricia Landers. So she's helping out as well as continuing in her role supporting HSC HR services for those of you that are from HSC. Let's see. So during this time of interim, we're still moving forward. So you're going to be hearing about those initiatives. And all of you know about Workday, of course, which is something we've all been dealing with for quite some time. So we've survived Workday, but we're not done yet, right? There are still things that we are hearing from you, that we are hearing and noticing ourselves and suggesting. In fact, one very exciting announcement I wanted to make is that yesterday the Hcm Advisory Council voted to approve some significant changes to the onboarding process that you'll be hearing about. So that's very exciting. There'll be more information coming, a WebEx that HR Liaisons will be invited to. I know some of you may be going, but I just figured out the current one. But I promise it will simplify things for you. Melanie, I think, was on the working group. She's going to talk about that also in a little bit. So that is one of the many exciting things that was voted on yesterday for changes to Workday. So that process with the Advisory Council will continue to try to make Workday better for each of us on the HR side, as well as for those of you out in the departments trying to get your job done. I wanted to speak of Workday. Stepping out for just 1 second to set this down. This time I'm going to get right. I wanted to share some statistics with you. No, I just not. Sorry. Okay, some statistics with you about how hard you've all been working on Workday. So you knew that you were, but just a few statistics on some of the more common business processes. Create position from January 1st of this year through September 30th. Texas A&M and HSC have completed 5,052 create positions, 35% of the total volume of create positions for the A&M system. For hires, those of you that process hires in your departments, 6,950, again representing 38% of the total. Change job, anyone know what change job is? It's a process that does a lot of different and varied things in Workday. 8,261 change jobs have been processed, 36% of the overall total. And then the largest number, request compensation change, which also does a lot of different things related to compensation. 17,221 request compensation changes have been processed. That represents 39% of the overall total during that same time period for all system members. So I want you guys to give yourselves a round of applause, please. So as I mentioned, we are continuing to keep in mind and hear from you about things that could be done to help everyone work better in Workday and just make this a better and more effective place for everyone to carry out the mission of Texas A&M University. So it's Workday, it's everything else we're doing as well to make this a good place for you to work in and to help people get hired and accomplish all of our missions. So with that in mind, I'm going to turn it over to Melanie and just welcome.
Thank you, Melissa. You can clap if you want to. I mean, that makes it not so awkward for me. Okay. Great. Well, welcome and howdy.
Howdy.
Thank you. We are here to talk to you today as HR Liaisons and let you know where we're moving forward as a department and how we're working to help you. Since it is October 31st and we pinked out, instead of wearing costumes, we pulled out an old picture from last year so that I can embarrass some people, basically. So who is your HR Liaison support team? Now, of course, that's our entire HROE department. However, for direct support for you guys, for the older HR liaisons, now not by age, but by job, that have been around for a while, you're probably very familiar with Laura Donalick. She has been working really hard with the launch of Workday, and that kind of has turned into her role as our Workday, she doesn't like me to use the word specialist, Workday knowledgeable person.
I don't know that anybody can claim to be a Workday specialist.
Yeah, that's probably not an actual title. And then my name is Melanie Upton, and I am your new HR Liaison Administrator and Workday Analyst. So Laura and I will be working very closely together to help you guys. And we hear your concerns, we hear your pain points, and as your new HR Liaison Administrator, we know we haven't had a network meeting since 2016. That will be changing, and we'll talk about that in the future. And we know that training is a need, a very urgent need. So following this meeting, that is the thing that I will be working on. We have already put that in the works, and before the end of the year, trainings will be back up for HR liaisons. So when we say an HR liaison, what does that mean? Because it has evolved with Workday, right? So in Workday, there are the roles of absence partner, HR contact, timekeeper, recruiting coordinator, talent analyst, that may fall under the HR liaison umbrella. And then in single sign-on, we have guardian, which is the I-9 processor role in Workday that we're not currently using, train track, SSO department admin, UIN manager, UIN search. So as an HR liaison that has been designated as such, you may have one of these roles, you may have all of these roles. So part of what I am doing as your new HR liaison administrator is I've been performing an audit since I first started and finding out what roles do you guys have, what roles should you have, and what training needs to be done in order to help you guys do your job better. So what makes up our HR liaison network? Our membership includes not just the people in this room, but all of our HR liaisons, including bringing the Health Science Center under our umbrella. So our current designated HR liaison network is 406 people. But as I have conducted the audit, I have found that the people that have the roles that we saw on the previous page, that is more up towards 526 people. So as I'm doing this audit and kind of seeing who has these roles, who needs to be designated, who is not designated versus is designated, we are going to be looking at that so that we make sure that the people that have the security roles are properly trained. Because with those roles come responsibilities that not only affect things in Workday, but also affect laws, regulations, SAPs, our procedures and processes at Texas A&M as well as state and government. So how do you maintain your membership? I saw a lot of hands raised that this was your first network meeting. So some of this information may be completely new to some of you. In our old world, I'll call it that, pre-Workday world, there was a training curriculum that was required of all HR liaisons. We are going to be re-implementing the required curriculum for HR liaisons. Of course, that curriculum is evolving due to Workday, due to new processes, but you will need to have that required training. Regular attendance at HR Liaison Network meetings is one of those requirements. Congratulations, you're here, you're filling one of those requirements. There will be 3 network meetings throughout the year. Right now we're having the fall one. There will be one in the spring and one in the summer. We encourage you to make it to at least 2 of those 3, if not all 3. We'll be giving very valuable information during those network meetings, so we encourage you to come to as many of those as you can. Also completing the required training that I talked about earlier. Now, not only are we going to revamp and reinstate the training that's more of the laws, the regulations, you guys need to know about I-9s, FMLA, you need to know about leave, and all of the rules and regulations that come with all of that stuff. Those are going to be re-implemented, as well as you'll hear later today in a presentation from professional development. We are also creating Workday trainings, specifically targeted at HR liaisons. So we know that there are pain points. We know you guys need training, so we are doing our best to get that up and running as soon as we can. Read and share the HR Liaison Network news. This goes out every week. Hopefully you're aware of that. On Mondays, our HR Liaison Network news comes out. That is where we send you guys the most important information that you need to know for you as an HR liaison, as well as information that needs to get to your departments. Not only is that information just for you, as you read through those network newses, HR Liaison Network news, if any of that information is relevant to your employees, you are the one that is responsible to get that information out to them. This newsletter does not go to the entire campus. It only goes to our HR liaisons. So if there's something in there that you feel your employees need to know, then you need to make sure that you're getting that information out to them. So if this is the first time you've ever heard of the HR Liaison Network News or not, and you're like, where do I find it if I deleted it? We do have it on our main page. If you go to the main employees.tamu.edu, down at the very bottom there's a section called newsletters, and at the bottom is our HR Liaison Network News that has our archive of all of the, from the previous, I think, 3 years, network news. All of the titles from the articles are in there, so you should be able to search that information and find what you're looking for. We will be reversing the order of this, because right now you go on there, you get January's newsletters first, going down. We're going to reverse that so the most current ones will be at the top. So given that, I do have a question. By raise of hand, does anybody know what was in Monday's LNN about Election Day? Yes, ma'am. Oh, first, hand us all. Yes, the early release for votes, to be able to let your employees go and vote. There is a voter lead for that. So she gets an entire bag of candy. So with that, know that we are moving forward. We have a lot of initiatives going on right now in all of our different sections and teams within HROE. And with that, I'm going to turn the time over to Laura.
Okay, I get to do the fun part. Work day! Okay, quick pulse check. How many of you absolutely love work day? Okay, let me try this. How many of you have gotten more comfortable working with Workday since we went on? That, my friends, is what I call progress. We are making progress. I can tell you, there's one thing I can tell you with almost 100% certainty, Workday is not going away. But I can tell you, for those of you that were here when we were working up to Workday and go live, the stance was all A&M system members would work the same. That's what we wanted in Workday, everybody working the same. Okay? I can tell you now, we're backing away from that just slightly. Okay? We know that we are the largest institution within the A&M system. We're very complex, very unique in a lot of ways. So we are able to make suggestions. We are able to put in change requests. So there is hope. I'm not saying we're going back to the old days of BPP, so for those of you that still want to live there, I'm sorry. But we do have some hope on the horizon. So if you have any suggestions, let me know, and we'll get those on the radar. So some of the commonly asked questions that I have seen since we went live. Workday@tamu.edu. How many of you have submitted an email to workday@tamu.edu? Multiple emails probably. Well, guess what? You can't do that anymore. So what do? Again, you're going to hear all afternoon. HROE as a division is here for you. We're here to help with your Workday questions. But as you know, as of October 1st, we decommissioned this workday@tamu.edu. That doesn't mean you don't have anywhere to go. On our website, employees.tamu.edu, there is a new resource that we have out there, who to contact. For those of you that have not taken a look at that before, it's just this little handout that gives some suggested inquiry, some things that maybe your questions might be about. And what you just do is you look for the inquiry types, and then it's going to tell you what area of HROE to reach out to. We even have payroll services, we even have OGAPs and so forth. So try to pinpoint as much as possible what your question is really about. If it's about hiring someone, well then you don't really want to send it to OCRM. You want to make sure you send it to the proper talent management email account. We do ask that you only email one of these shared accounts. Okay, don't send multiple tickets. Don't CC anybody on them. Send it directly to that email account. If for whatever reason that is not the appropriate place for that inquiry, we will triage that for you. Promise. And if you cannot figure out by looking at the resource which shared account to send to, now he's probably going to kill me for this, you can send it to hrnetwork@tamu.edu. We will either take care of it or triage it, so forth. Okay, so you have that in your back pocket, hrnetwork@tamu.edu. Okay, supervisory organizations. Gosh golly, we still are trying to get this part down. So I've had a lot of questions about, I see this supervisory organization that we have. There's a manager's name there and inherited. Okay, what does that mean? What that means is, at some point in time, there was an individual that was a manager of this supervisory organization that is no longer in that position. They've moved on, they transferred, whatever. So what Workday does is, rather than leaving those employees in that soup org without someone managing them, Workday looks at this superior organization and says, okay, well, until a manager is assigned here, we're going to roll everything up to the superior organization. Okay, so it picks that up in the routing. Now, if you do not plan on putting a manager in this role in the near future, we can inactivate supervisory organizations. If there are no members in that supervisory organization, if there are no active staffing events, and no subordinates, we can have that inactivated. You can't do that, you would submit a ticket and we would inactivate for you. For this particular example, if we do want to inactivate it, we would need to simply reassign the superior organizations for all of these to get rid of those subordinates. Okay, does that make sense? Omar? Okay, the other question I get is, well, I've been looking at these supervisory organizations, the organization charts, the hierarchy in Workday, and I see there's someone there underneath someone else, but that's not their manager. Well, you could be very, very right there. If you need to know who an employee reports to, you want to go to that employee's profile, and you want to look right here. So my manager is Mary Schubert. Hi, Mary. So Mary is my manager, but I may have a supervisory organization under Pamela Appraisal. I wish, I do. So if someone were looking at the hierarchy in Workday, they might see my soup org underneath Pamela's soup org and go, oh, Laura reports to Pam. No, that's just where my supervisory organization falls. I'm going to pick on Janie and my friends from athletics for just one moment. Then we were just talking about, I'm working on some things for them, and we were talking about this very thing. Because of where the superior organization falls, you might think, oh, okay, that's where that person, that's where those people in that soup org need to report to. Not necessarily. So again, if you want to see who somebody reports to, go to the profile, check out the manager. All right, this is a big one too. Okay, so does everybody know where to look at the process in worker history? You want to go to Actions, Worker History, and then Process, and you can see where that business process is awaiting action. So here in this example, there's an action awaiting, and it's got all these people listed, okay? All of these people, plus 20 more probably, have this HR partner role. I want you to think about this HR partner role a lot like the HR contact role that many of you have. The HR contact role in the liaison world is kind of the leading powerful role for you liaisons. It gives you more visibility and ability to do things. So a lot of times you may have a recruiting coordinator role, but without the HR contact role, you might not be able to see all the pieces that you're thinking you need to see. So the same thing with HR partner. It gives us more visibility and ability to do things. So a lot of us won't just have this HR partner role, we'll have another partner role to go along with it. So I tell you that because poor Ada, she has an A for her first name. So a lot of people are like, oh, let me call Ada, it's waiting her. Please don't do that. If you haven't figured it out, Workday likes to put things in alphabetical order by first name. I will also tell you, because a lot of us have this HR partner role, we do have the ability to do whatever that task is, but that doesn't mean we've been tasked to handle those. Okay, does that make sense? So for example, a legal name change. Okay, it comes on over here, it sits in the HR partner box. We all do it, but should we all do it? No, we leave that up to our UIN partners. There's a couple of people in that role that goes along with HR partner. And they are the ones that scrub through the inbox and find those tasks and take care of those. Okay, does that make sense? So if you don't learn anything else today, please know, don't always call Ada. She won't always have the answers. Ada, are you in here?
Or Betty.
No? Oh, okay. Or Betty. Marla is protecting her team there. Or Betty. She's next in line. Carmen right here is sitting up here. She's third in line. Okay, Melanie.
Okay, so as Elizabeth alluded to earlier, yesterday, onboarding, a new whole flow of onboarding was approved. I was on the onboarding working group that worked with the system. There were several people from all the different system units out there that worked together to look at the onboarding process. Because as you guys know and are well aware, the onboarding process is a lot of bouncing back and forth, a lot of knowing where are we at, are we done? I don't know if we're done, let's run a report, where's it at, who needs to touch it? And that was a huge pain point system-wide. So what the new onboarding flow is going to do is not only is it going to keep the flow going, but it is segmented out. So once the HR contact is done with their stuff, they're done with their stuff. Once the next person has to do their stuff, they're done with their stuff. So it's going to flow down, it's not going to get hung up. The adding your photo is not going to hang anything up. You don't have to add a photo if you don't want to, but saving it for later will hang things up right now. So once this new onboarding process is on, a lot of those hangups are going to be completely wiped out. We looked at what was mandatory by regulation law. We looked at what was required by Texas A&M system regulations and all of that good stuff. And then what was kind of nice to have, but we don't really need it, right? We got rid of the, if we don't need it, why is it in there? And then some of the tasks also went from tasks to just notifications. So there is going to be a WebEx training that you guys will be invited to via the LNN, the Liaison Network News, where they are going to walk us through the entire new onboarding process that I promise you is going to be way less painful. We also are working on updating our website so that all the content is a little bit easier to find in the HR Liaison section and that it's all updated. Of course, that's going to take a little bit of time, but that is on our radar. Training, like I said, is going to be starting up before the end of the year. We are mainly going to focus on the HR liaisons that have had zero training up to this point. We understand that there's a group of people from the past year that have been designated HR liaisons with no training. Those are going to be our first priority, and we will be offering trainings every month in the beginning to try to get people caught up. And then also a continuous audit of those security roles and making sure the people that have those roles really need those roles, and if they don't, then let's reevaluate that at that point. And I also am going to be working on redesigning the LNN, make it a little bit more reader friendly, a little bit easier to find that information. So that is also on our radar for the near future. So final thoughts. Attend training. Once we get those trainings up and I start assigning trainings and letting you know that they're out there, make sure you're attending them. There's a lot of things that you guys need to know, a lot of information out there that we want to provide to you and for you. Read the Liaison Network News. Like I said, that is where we put the most important information. So it is very, very important to read through that information each week and utilize our other resources that are available. Attend your HR Liaison Network meetings, which you're all getting gold stars on right now. And if you do have any questions, then please submit it to HR Network, not for just any question, but HR Liaison Network specific questions. And then if you can't figure out from our contact sheet who to contact, me and Laura are here to help you. So we're here to support you, and we really appreciate, because you guys are an extension of us. And so we want to help you be the best that you can at your job. There we go. And we don't have to take any questions. With that, our next presenter, oh wait. Yeah, we got a standing ovation this morning for the onboarding process. Maybe you don't realize how exciting it is, but it will be very, very exciting.
And not only will it make your life easier as an HR liaison, it's going to make the entire onboarding experience for the new employee so much better. And they're going to go, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I'm here. Right?
That was one of the main focuses, make sure that we have a better experience for our new employees coming in. The last thing we want is for them to have a bad experience prior to starting at A&M. All right, so next up we have Wanda Boyd from OCRM, and she's going to come speak to you on the Blue X.
I'm not live right until I get it. Good afternoon and howdy. Howdy. So I am Wanda Boyd. I'm the director of OCRM, which is Organizational Consulting and Resolution. Organizational Consulting and Resolution Management. That's a long name. We know what it means, but they didn't ask me what I wanted to be called or my department. But that's I'm the director of that department, and I don't have a lot to say about Workday other than this. Our department clicks the box that says approved to move a termination forward. But what we really do is, per the SAP, if you have termination, those per the SAP should go through us. It doesn't say must, but it would be a good idea if they went through us, right? Because then if someone appeals their termination, then if you consult with our department, we will have guided you in the most sound manner so that it's the most fair, square, legal thing for the employee and the employer. We're not taboo, sensitive, we're here for everyone. And so that's the work that we do. And so that's what I have to say about the Workday system. And so now we'll get into what I'm really here to talk to you about. So a little bit of the history of OCRM for those of you who are pretty new, and then just to help understand the strategy we are taking now with the department. We were formerly, there were 3 departments. We had Employee Assistance Program, which is now Deer Oaks. We had Employee Relations, and under Employee Relations we did these things: performance evaluations, corrective actions, termination reviews, alternate work locations, and then again the EAP, which is now Deer Oaks, and then there were more things that were done through the Employee Relations Department. Then we had Policy and Practice Review, which was PNPR, as some of you may know it. And with PNPR, we did the 080101 Civil Rights Compliance, and that we were the investigative authority for all complaints that fell under civil rights violations, and so Title IX and Title VII violations. We now have a new department on campus. That's the Office of Risk, Ethics, and Compliance. They are now our new investigative authority, and so those cases are transitioned to them, but our office mitigates issues before they become a formal complaint. And then if we still go through the mitigation process and they still need to be formally investigated, then that option is always there. We also handle 320102. That is that's our complaint and appeal process for non-faculty employees. And again, what we do with those complaints is our office will facilitate that process. And so we get your complaint and we identify what you are alleging in your complaint. That goes to your department head, it goes to the respondent's department head, and then the designee. And that could be either the provost, the vice president over the area, or someone that they think would be able to make the best, most sound decision based on your complaint and or your appeal. So we facilitate that process. We send the decision out to you once we get it back from the designee. And then once that decision is made under 320102, this process, that decision is considered final. There are some appeal options for 080101, but again, that's handled now by a different office. We do ADA consultations just to be sure that we are following the law. And then we do policy review and interpretation as well. And then again, more things, but how we have morphed with combining ER and PNPR is our plan is to really be included in your college or division so that we can be more strategically aligned, so that we're not just here when you have a problem and you're calling us and we're the outsiders looking in. But we are doing that, but the good thing is if you come to us and we find something that perhaps is a violation or is problematic, we get to fix it. And when I say we get to fix it. Once it leaves our office, it will either go to the Office of Risk, Ethics, and Compliance for a formal investigation with one more opportunity to make it right. After that, it could go to the Office of Civil Rights, it could go to the EEOC, and then it's us against them. And so we would like to change the shift if you're not already in this mindset that OCRM, that we are in this together. And so we may ask a lot of questions, but it's because we're trying to give you the most sound recommendation based on the action that you want to take. So that includes some cross-departmental collaboration and not just us sitting at our desks, responding behind the screen, but going and being a part of your staff meetings, delivering, talking with you one-on-one about an issue you might want to become more familiar with and more comfortable with. We do facilitated dialogue, which is really the mediation principles, but it's not a formal court-ordered process, but we do that to help mitigate conflict, and so we're available for that. And then we rolled out our employee relations business partner model. What that is really, so we have in Workday, human resources generalist 3s. That's what we are, that's what my team is. Our working titles are employee relations business partners, and so we are business partners for you. So that's kind of how we've sort of morphed and created our strategy to better support you and our campus. So our strategy is really a lot of what I've been talking about, is we're connecting as a business partner. We are wanting to create transparency in how we consult with you about a matter. While we're doing that, asking you questions about why you want to do it this way to see if we can get to the most sound resolution to your issues. Again, with communication, we want it to be timely. If things change after you've originally talked with us and we're researching to be sure we can guide you properly, please reach out to us in a timely manner, and we'll try to keep you as up to speed as we can about where we are along the process, because sometimes with personnel matters, things change rather quickly. So communication and timely communication is critical. Being transparent, being honest, and then everyone taking ownership for what our responsibilities are. And so while we consult with you and we make recommendations, they're not directives, but it would be a good idea if you follow that recommendation. And then again with collaboration, you'll see again ownership, accountability, cross-departmental, and then faculty and students. And we really want to do better with understanding our entire campus and not just faculty's here, staff's here, students here. We want to really try to just create that cross-campus connection and doing more as it relates to students, and then just with faculty as well, because we are all here really for the same mission. And while we're faculty and staff, we're all employees, and so our goal is just to try to really bridge some of those gaps as well with getting from behind our desks. Then we have transformation, which is again more accountability and ownership to sort of transform the way in which we think about consulting with OCRM, about the way in which we implement things and how we communicate and work together, how we resolve conflict. And then we hope that we can provide you with some measurable, usable data so you can really see what the value is of working with us. And so that goes into the next part that I have, which are some of the cases. So from January through September 30th, these are the number and types of cases we worked on. We have phone calls that come in, and we don't log those because that would be sort of ridiculous because we get a lot of them, and so we don't track every single thing, but these are some of the things that we have captured. We do, with, again, the ADA consultations, we've had about 9 of those. And again, if you're not consulting with us, then that means that you get it. And so we're here to help you and not to just come bother you because we feel like you need to hear these things, but we're here as a resource for you to be sure that you can follow the rules, regs, and SAPs and all applicable state and federal laws. And if you have some concern about some of those things, then our office is here to help you. And if we can't help you in OCRM, we consult with everyone in our division to connect you with an expert in that area so that you're making the most sound decision. And if your dean, department head, supervisor, manager comes to you and challenges what you're recommending to them, that you can know that you've given the most sound recommendation. And if they come to us trying to get something done without going through you, we're going to tell them the same thing that we talked with you about. So we are supporting you in that way. Some other cases, again, conflict and resolution management, 20 of those. We have alternate work locations. Demotions, while those have a negative connotation, sometimes they're necessary, but there's a fair, square legal way to do that, and so our goal is to make sure that that happens. We have dismissal, ethics points, memorandums of expectations, performance evaluation guidance, personnel corrective actions, policy guidance, reductions in force, so that's the RIF, complaints and appeals, EEOC. So if we get an EEOC charge and we've handled mitigating that in some way, then we are responsible for drafting the statement for that. And then UPD cases as well, reports come to us, and sometimes we use those in our research. So that is what we do. Those are some of the cases, and I think what I'd like you to take away is just knowing that we're here again as a resource for you to be sure that the roles that you have are critical and that you're comfortable in making the decisions you have to make, because there are rules, regs, and stats for just about everything, and there are applicable laws, and that we begin to work together as a cabinet of collaborators. That's all I have, and I can take a few questions, I believe. Let's just want to keep it confidential. No questions? Okay, well then, good. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Wanda. Wanda's team is the team we're so glad to have, but never want to have to call, right? So that's how it goes. Next up, we have Scott Bauer with our talent management team.
Good afternoon and howdy. Howdy. You just gotta love that, right? So glad that y'all are here, and she's gonna keep pointing at me all the time. So I want to walk around. Sorry for you on the camera. I'll try to stay. Glad y'all are here. You didn't have to brave the elements like the morning crew did. I think it was all raining, so hopefully we're going to get you out of here in time to not have to worry about it on the other side. But also, it is a Halloween day today, and I saw a few people that had their costumes on. I love the costumes. I also am wearing a costume. I didn't know if you noticed or not, but I'm dressed up like a director. But I wanted to show you kind of what I normally wear. The things you have to do, right? So what I want to do is I want to give you, most of you are, how many are you are recruiting partners or recruiting coordinators? A lot of you are recruiting coordinators. So you're gonna relate to what I'm gonna say. What I want to do is I want to give you some scene. I want to take you behind the scenes and show you a little bit about what it is that we do that you don't know about, and some of the things that you might do that you don't know about, and the reason that we ask you to do what you do. Believe me, we're not here to try to make your life harder. That's true. We do not want to make your life harder. We want to make it better. We want to work with you. We also want to make our applicants let our applicants have a great experience when they apply for positions with AVA. So, to start off with, I took these kind of in order of a lot of the issues and the questions that come up. How many of you know the candidate grid? If you've been to the job requisition screen, you've seen the candidate grid. This is the candidate grid, and what it is that it shows you all the candidates on the screen. It's a great kind of tool for you to look at the folks that have applied, get a sense of who's who, what's what, and what you want to do. Now, who can utilize the candidate grid? The recruiting coordinator. The recruiting coordinator is the one who's doing the initial reviews. After the initial reviews are done, we've asked you to please not move any of the candidates any further using that grid. You can come down here, you can click a name, move forward, and it moves them to either a screen or interview or offer or anything else. When you do that, kind of go, what's the harm? Let me tell you what the harm is. A pre-hire record is created when you move a candidate into offer or background. That's one of the number one problems that we do see. And that's one of the things that comes back to create some issues for you guys. Also, some of the duplicate checking steps can be skipped. If you put somebody into an interview and then you go, oh, wait, I didn't want to put them there, and you take them back out, that to-do that gets triggered to the recruiting partner vanishes. We don't know that we need to go out there and look for a duplicate for you. Also, a duplicate pre-hire record will also could be created while you do that. And then an internal candidate who has applied externally, we won't know that. So the results for you, and if you've had this issue, you know it results in delays in your recruiting process. We have to call the Workday Services team to have them delete the duplicate pre-hire record. It's an inconvenience to the candidate, and it also kind of has a negative experience for the candidate. All those things we're trying to mitigate by saying, hey, let's work within the system, and this is the things that, I don't know if you realize that happens. I'm not making this stuff up. I don't want you to not use the grid because I just don't want you to. There's just certain things that happen that if you do, we're not aware of it, and we can't help you with it. So the solutions really, don't move the candidates from the grid. Most of you probably don't necessarily get that option, but your hiring managers do. So if you can go back to your hiring manager and just educate them, just say, you know what, I know you like that candidate grid and it does some really neat things for you. I'm on camera, so I can't say this in confidence. Don't y'all tell anybody. They can go out there and look at all their candidates all they want to. Just don't push the button to move them anywhere they want, okay? I'll let you do that. But just tell them not to do any candidate. Contact us before moving a candidate to offer a background and check the business process history like Laura talked about. And I'll go into a little bit more about why I want you to let us know about moving it. So I want to go through the candidate flow real quick. This is the recommended process to go through, take care of an applicant to candidate to employee. Application is by the candidate, they apply. You go through, you do an initial review, you move them into the screen. This is where you do the screening matrix to figure out who you want to interview. Move them to interview. It initiates the duplicate check task for the recruiting partner. We go in, we can check and make sure that everything is good for that candidate. And then reference check, it's in blue because it's an optional step within Workday. You still need to do it outside of Workday, but you don't have to move them into that step. Then you move them into offer, and again, it creates the pre-hire record. Anytime you move them into offer or background, it'll create a pre-hire record. And then we go to ready for hire. If we follow this step in this order, your recruiting process, I've seen it, it'll work well. It'll go through and you won't have any of these issues. What I want to focus on is the offer process. We go through and we get to the interview reference stage, and you're ready to make an offer. And we've asked you, probably back in July, we asked you to start sending an email to us to just ask us, tell us that this individual is ready to be hired, can you check them out? What we're going to do is we're going to check to see if there's any duplicates. We're going to check the minimum qualifications just to make sure that everything is good and that the candidate has applied correctly. If everything is great, you're going to get, hey, all clear for liftoff. If it's not, you're going to get, Houston, we have a problem. We don't like saying that. But what happens is that we go in there and we do these duplicate checks. We're looking to see, are they a former employee? Do they already have a record in Workday? Are they a current employee that somehow, things got missed? So we're doing a lot of things to make sure that everything is working well for you. So that's why we ask you to please send us an email. Just let us know. Call us if you'd like. But send an email. Let us know that you're ready to make an offer to this individual. We can go run out there, do that check, and make sure that everything's good. Also, you can go to the business process history, and you can also do the same thing by looking at their history and see, did the review duplicates check get done? We'll put notes on there, and you'll see that we've done it. And that's another indication that says, hey, there's things that are moving along. So just make sure that if you do the offer, that's why we want you to do it. So, squirrel. Let's do a little update here. So we're actively managing our online brand now. So we've just recently put a contract in with Glassdoor, and we had one with Higher Ed Jobs. We're actually now paying more attention to what we're doing online. Instead of us just kind of posting our jobs and just letting them pick up wherever they are, we're actually now trying to be more intentional about what we're doing, where we're putting it. If there's some hard to hire, hard to fill positions, we want to pay special attention to those. We just now got this started. We're kind of on the ground floor of it. As soon as we understand everything that it will do for us and understand the way it should work, we're going to put out some information to you guys, and the recruiting partners will be available to you to let you know what we can do to help with your recruiting efforts. Also, in that same light, we've kind of stepped up our level of consultation for creating job requisitions. What we want to do is we want to help you see that gee, there's some opportunity with your job requisition. Sure, we need to put all the elements of the position, but is there something that we can say that's going to make it a little bit more appetizing, that's going to make it a little bit better? Somebody's going to go, oh wow, that's really cool, that's really interesting, I want to go to work there. So that's another thing that we're starting to do more and more of as you create your job requisitions. So minor employment release, this was one of those issues that just got resolved. I'll tell you about it briefly, but this step is actually going to go away. But in the meantime, until it does, the minor employment release task will go to external candidates if we don't have a birth date for that candidate. Again, this is a little bit of a behind-the-scenes thing. It's like, why does that go? Well, if we don't have a birth date for the candidate, Workday just says, okay, we don't know how old they are, we need to make sure that they're not a minor. So that's why that goes out. We will go look with the documents that you've sent to us. If we can find a birth date for that candidate, we will go enter it in so it doesn't trigger for the applicant. If we can't find it, it will go through. So as you're hiring folks, if you can get their birth date at some point, and let us know what that is, we're happy to put that in for you, and so to keep that from triggering. If it does trigger, and you get a call from someone and they go, I don't know what to do with this, if they find it, they get to it, just tell them, if they're over 18, just tell them hit the submit button and it continues and we can get to the ready to hire process. If they don't know where to go find that, this will be on their external career site where they actually applied for the position. Also, let's see. Yeah, I think that's all. This is going to be going away. So I don't know when it's going to go away. But if that happens, you know what to do about it. We do want to spend some time on supplemental questions. We've had some questions come up about what those are, how they are. Back in July, we put an LNN notice out about supplemental questions. I just want to kind of go over that. What are they? Supplemental questions are additional questions that get added to the requisition to find out a little bit more about the candidate that is applying. Generally, 1 to 2 questions, but they can be more. Generally, they're yes or no questions, but they can be open-ended. And the recruiting partner adds the education experience questions on there for you, so you don't have to worry about putting those on. But they're there to get what is the key preferred qualifications you're looking for. That's really what the supplemental questions are designed to do. They're not designed to ask interview questions. They're not designed to get writing samples. And they're not designed to make the applicant experience painful or negative. And let me help you to think about what this might mean for an applicant. Off the top of your head, what percentage of applicants do you think apply using a mobile device?
80.
80? 90? Any more? 70? 60? Well, the data that I saw, and this is not necessarily for Texas A&M because I don't know what the data is for Texas A&M, but the data showed about 37% right now are using only a mobile device to apply. So what that, and it sounds low compared to what y'all thought, but I think it's much higher than what we really anticipate. So think about this. This person now is going to respond to a question that says, describe the last 5 jobs that you've had in which you've had to use this certain system or whatever. Now you're going to ask them to try to write something on a 2-inch by 3-inch keyboard and try to make it. You guys know what this is like. You're sitting there trying to type something and you're like, I think I've seen some that, please excuse my typos because I'm typing it on my phone. Unfortunately, that doesn't come through to us on the applications. But some people think that this is it's a good way to see if they can write and see if they, how they think, all that. And it's like, yeah, they can, but think about this. You have this candidate who is in between jobs or in between his job on a flight, flying from one place to another. So he's sitting at the airport, he gets a ding, and says, oh wow, there's a job that looks really interesting, I think I'll apply. So he may have an hour or 2 before the flight, applies for the position, but now it's like, oh, I got all these questions I need to start typing. So he's sitting there trying to type and answer this questions on this keyboard. It's really time. So that's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm talking about. Is not making the applicant experience painful or negative. There are other ways to get those answers if you want them. simply put them into the job requisition. We can ask them to please submit a cover letter, please submit a resume, please submit a writing sample on whatever it is that you want them to write on. But supplemental questions are not really intended nor designed to do that. So that's kind of where the philosophy is on the supplemental questions. And then down below we put some examples of some supplemental questions. Some of them are yes, no. Some of them are just, what systems have you used? And it's just a quick list of the systems. And then the other one is, list of technical certifications or something that you have. Question?
Can you require them to submit a cover letter and resume?
We can't really require them to do that. Sorry. The question was, can you require them to attach or submit a resume, cover letter, or any other document? You can't require them to do that because really at the end of the day, it's whether they meet the minimum qualifications as to whether they become a candidate. So if they meet the minimum qualifications, they are a candidate. Now, if they don't do what you ask them to do in that job requisition, in your screening matrix, you can score them appropriately. So if you're looking for that information and it's not there, you can't give them a good score or a favorable score if you don't have it. So that's really what that is. But we can't necessarily say, oh, sorry, you didn't attach it. You can't, you don't qualify. So good question. So some tips and tricks. The hire employee process. This is the time that normally you would hire a student. I'm sure most of you have probably hired a student. If you go in and you run this process, current employees are not found if you try to use an existing pre-hire record. So if you go in and you put them in, they won't be found. You go, oh, well, I'm going to go create this. That's where we get a lot of issues. What you can do is go into the global search bar, which is on that top search bar on the top left corner of the screen. Put the couple of letters of their first and last name up there, and you can then determine if they're an employee. And if they are, then you would use the change job process. You wouldn't do the hire employee. The other piece is sometimes you will go in and you will start a new hire. So as soon as you enter the name and the contact information and you hit OK, and it takes you to the next screen to enter the job information that you want to hire them into, you have created a pre-hire record. Most people think, oh, well, I didn't do it yet. I'm going to cancel because I didn't put them into a job. You've already created a pre-hire record. It's okay, because if you still want to hire the person, you'll still go to the hire employee process. However, what you're going to do is use the existing pre-hire because you have already created the pre-hire. If you don't, you're going to actually duplicate that person in the system. So just keep in mind, once you put the name and the contact information in and hit OK, you've created a pre-hire. Criminal background checks, if we're running them through the recruiting part of Workday, you don't need to send an email to request a criminal background check. If you have submitted a criminal background check, please give us at least 72 hours before you email or call us and ask us what the status of that background check is. Sometimes we get requests, the next day for the same person. So also, if you're not sure, I know you guys handle a lot of people, you may want to just go into your sent items and look to see, did I request an email, did I request a background check in my email or not? So that'll just help us out to make sure that we're not getting duplicate background checks wrong. Okay. Oh, a workday squirrel. Time for another break. So, updates coming soon. We're working on some videos. Since we're taking a little more hold of our online branding, we want to show what it's like to be an employee at Texas A&M. I think all of us have seen a fabulous job that our marketing and communications department has done to make Texas A&M University a great place for students to see all the great, wonderful things that we've done. But what I've noticed when I go look is that I want to see who is behind all those great things. And it's you, and it's the people that you hire and that you work with. So we're putting together some videos that we could show on our branding sites to give a little bit more information to the applicants. Also, we're investigating more digital and online resources that we can use to reduce paper, that we can make your lives easier and also make the applicant experience better. so that we don't have to just send paper and scan and upload and do all that. We can try to find different and better ways that we can streamline processes, not have to go through and make a copy of anything or scan it back to ourselves. So, my final thoughts, please, 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 do not move the applicants from the candidate grid. I know it's tough, but I appreciate you letting your hiring managers know to not do that, to work through the end-day workday inbox to do those things. Also, email us at jobs@tamu.edu before you move anyone into the offer or the background stage. And always use the global search bar to check for an active employee record before initiating a hire. That is all I have. I think I have time for questions. Does anyone have any questions? Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Thank you, Scott. One thing I failed to mention and let you guys know is all the presentations that you see today will be available on our website. We'll put out a link in the Liaison Network News on Monday. That way you know where to find them, but they will be all up there and available for you so that help jog your memory of all the things we're going to tell you today. Next up, we have our employee, let me try that again, wellness coordinator, Courtney Martin.
Hello, howdy. How are y'all doing? Oh, yes, I can stand on the blue X. I can totally do that. Have you hit your afternoon slump yet? Okay, do you hit that like every day? Okay, well, if you don't every day, or if you ever do hit that afternoon slump in the future, I've got some stretches for you. So I want you to sit up nice and tall, place both feet on the floor, and I want you to start by breathing in, take a big inhale through the nose, and exhale through the mouth. One more time, big breath in, and exhale. All right, roll those shoulders back. Start to wake the body up a little bit. I really want to walk around and get away from this X, but I won't do it, I promise. Roll the shoulders forward. All right, now take your right ear up and over to your right shoulder. Reach those shoulders down to the floor. You should feel a great stretch through your neck. And to the other side. Keep breathing. And come back up. All right, drop your chin down to your chest. You should feel this through the back of the neck. And roll up. Roll those shoulders back. And forward. If you find yourself at a keyboard pretty frequently, these two stretches will be really great for you, or one stretch will be really good for you. So take that right hand forward, and then your other hand is going to come right on top of those fingertips. Pull those fingertips back gently. You should feel a stretch through the palm. And try the other side. Not bad, not bad. All right, bring it down. Roll those shoulders out again. Take a big inhale through the nose. And exhale. How are you feeling? A little bit better? Okay. So I've got a few things for you guys regarding Wellness Works. As I said, my name is Courtney Martin. I'm the Employee Wellness Coordinator, so I oversee the Wellness Works program. Hopefully by now you know what that is. And if not, the Wellness Works program is Texas A&M's official employee wellness program. So what we do, it's our goal to support our employees in their journey to holistic wellness. So we're trying to bring a culture of that to our campus. And with your support and others, we can definitely do that. So we have 3 different pillars. We focus on physical, financial, and interpersonal wellness. You can see that these are our pillars right here, and we promote that through all of our campus emails as well. First thing I wanted to talk to you guys about, it's our wellness release time. Have you heard of it? Have you used it? Okay, good. So, wellness release time. It is authorized by system regulation, and it is 30 minutes, 3 times a week, to engage in physical activity. So this is available to you as well as the employees in the units that you serve. I would encourage you to encourage others to partake in wellness release time, okay? There are some general guidelines on the Wellness Works website. Be sure to check those out and have those employees make sure that they're filling out the Wellness Release Time acknowledgement form. This is not something that Wellness Works needs. It's something that is actually kept in that employee's personal file. So, like I said, I encourage you to use Wellness Release Time. and you should encourage those in your offices to use it as well. Do you guys have any questions about wellness release time? Yes?
How often do you recommend filling out the welcome?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say once a year. Mary Schubert. How often would you recommend employees fill out the wellness release time form?
I would recommend that it be a part of the conversation with the employees. Sorry,
That's okay. I really want to stay on that X now.
So what was the question again? Sorry.
how often should employees fill out the wellness release time?
So how often should employees complete the wellness release time acknowledgement form? As I was starting to explain on my way up here, the recommendation is for the employee and the supervisor to have a conversation and make that process work for them. At minimum, I would say at least once a year. If there are changes, the form itself doesn't have, it's not very strict, and that's on purpose, right? We want that to be a conversation, we want that to be a dialogue between you and your employee, making it work for your office. Not all offices look and feel the same, so it's difficult to say, or it wouldn't be appropriate for us to tell you exactly how you should administer wellness release time by saying document this or don't document this. So hopefully that explains a little bit. I would probably recommend, if it were me, I would recommend doing it on a semester basis, especially because our fitness sessions, usually we put out a calendar on a semester basis. So that's probably what I would recommend. However, you can do it more often or less often, minimum of at least a year. That makes sense? Awesome.
All right, and you had a question as well. What was that?
So I've had mixed messages. Last report I officially received was that they did not need to enter this wellness release time in workday. But I had an employee that went to one of the new hire sessions, and she said that she was told that they were to enter it into workday their time off.
So the question is employees entering their wellness release time into workday. Is that entering it in as time worked? As
time off.
Oh, as time off. Mary?
Turn it back over to you. She'll answer way better than you.
Courtney wants me to take hard questions. Wellness release time is in Workday. It is an option that can be used. However, we are not encouraging the use of it quite yet, right? We want to develop some, the objective here is to not be so strict that it discourages employees from using it, right? It will become a burden on the supervisor to have to go in and constantly approve those time off requests. Our recommendation, our official position is not to use the time off request in Workday for wellness release time, right? That's what you're using the acknowledgement form. You're documenting what has been approved. So please, our preference is for you not to use it.
Any other questions regarding wellness release time? All right, good. Mary's going to be happy that she can run away now. Okay, so moving on. Employee tuition assistance. This is offered through the Wellness Works financial pillar, and it was previously known as the employee tuition, I forgot what it was called previously. I totally had it up there, and y'all changed my slides. It's okay. So it is now called the Employee Tuition Assistance Program, and if you meet the criteria eligibility, then you are automatically enrolled into the program. So the eligibility requirements are listed on the Wellness Works website. If this is something that comes across in your office frequently or even just once or twice a year, I would encourage you to just touch base with those eligibility requirements so that you know what they are in case you receive any questions about it. We work very closely with financial aid to administer this, and they've been wonderful in making sure that employees receive this on a yearly basis. Actually, semesterly basis. Questions on that? Yes? Yes, you do have to be attending Texas A&M University to receive this. Any other questions? All right, moving right along. All right, we have our Well Leader program. This is administered through the interpersonal pillar of Wellness Works. And the Well Leader program is a voluntary program that allows employees across campus to engage and support wellness programming. So we have about 85, a little over 85 Well Leaders currently serving to their units, and they're in about 60 different colleges or units across campus. So we've got a lot of well leaders, but we're always looking for more. So these individuals volunteer their time to learn more about wellness programming. They also promote wellness programming on their own within their own units. So hopefully your area already has a wellness leader of its own, and if you don't know of one, I would encourage you to send somebody over to become a wellness leader, if not yourself. Because promotion of these events, it's going to be much more successful if you know somebody who's supporting wellness or somebody who's already engaging in wellness themselves. You're much more apt to participate with them. Questions about the Well Leader program? All right. So we have monthly events and monthly happenings. I hope that you guys have been receiving our campus emails. We put out a monthly email. It's called Wellness Happenings. And it talks about all of the wellness programs that we have coming up every single month. So be sure to check those out. Again, attend events, come to our lunch and learns, come to any informational or educational programs that we have across campus. And that's really all I can say is take part in wellness for yourself. We love to see you at these events, and oftentimes we have really great giveaways for them. So that's not incentive enough. Questions about our monthly events? Yes? Oh, you want me to talk about that? Yeah, okay. Next week we have our Wellness Works Employee Wellness Fair. So take part in that. It is all day long. So that doesn't mean that you have to be there all day, even though I would love if you could come hang out with us all day long. We'll have presentations throughout the day. We'll have a lunch keynote where lunch will be provided. Flu vaccines will be going on all day, and we'll have an open exhibit hall. So with all of our wellness vendors in the area, be sure to come next Thursday. It's over at the Rec Center. Is that good? Okay. All right, also just a friendly reminder, since it is October, to get that the mammography. We actually had a mobile mammography van here last week. We will continue to have them on campus as frequently as possible, probably once a semester, somewhere in that range. But if you're not able to partake in that, then please feel free to reach out to your primary care physician to receive one on your own. All right, final thoughts for Wellness Works. Support the use of wellness release time and partake in it yourselves. Be sure to attend those free fitness sessions. We have about 30 every single week at no cost to you. Become familiar with employee tuition assistance eligibility. Again, that is located on the Wellness Works website. And join the Well Leader program. If you don't know of anyone in your office already serving as one, please become one yourselves. Just send me an email at thewellness@tamu.edu. Get involved in monthly events, and we hope to see you there. Any questions about Wellness Works? Yes?
I have a question. When y'all have something like this and your employee wants to go, does this count as their wellness for the week? They're gone for an hour and a half, or
So,
you just let them take the time and not count that toward their wellness?
So, what my recommendation would be for attendance in an event like the Employee Wellness Fair is that all wellness events, like our monthly events, our lunch and learns, they are considered university business, so we are not requiring employees on our end to use their wellness release time to go and attend these events. It also should not be vacation time or sick leave or anything like that to engage in these events. It is part of university business. Does that make sense? Any other questions? All right. Thank you guys for having me. Have a fantastic rest of your day and happy Halloween.
All right. Right now is probably going to be your favorite part of the day. It is break time. So we are going to take about a 10-minute break. It is now 2:40, so if you can be back in your seats by 2:50, we will continue on with the rest of our presentations. This is your 1 minute warning to return to your seats. 1 minute warning. Howdy. We can make it back to our seats. We're going to continue on. We've got a full second half of the meeting for you guys. Welcome back. Hopefully after your stretching and your short break, you guys are ready for our next presentation. Up next is the Assistant Director of Benefit Services, Marlo Kibler.
Howdy. Howdy. It's so hard for me coming from the north. But I did it. Welcome to this afternoon's presentation. Again, my name is Marlo Kibler, for those of you that I have not met, but I see so many friendly faces that I do know. I'm the Assistant Director of Benefits, and this is the benefits team. So many of you may not know, there's Betty Gibson, that's the B on the top of the list, and then there's Laura Ellis, Chris Brooks. Those are our two UIN I-9 partners. Okay, that's who you're talking to. Okay, there's Laura French. Many of you may be speaking to her with regards to fellows, she's my backup leave administrator, Ada Green. Woo! Yeah. And then there's Judy Kurtz. Judy, breaking news at 6. Judy is not your point of contact for retirement. Okay, she is not. She's our leave administrator, and I'll talk to you about retirements and changes. So we have been hard at work and working to listen to you, hear your needs, and understand what's going on in your areas so that we can best assist you. And as you see, currently I've got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Paul Castellea, cannot forget about him. He is now our employee benefits rep. He is out on vacation. And I lost a member who transitioned from our location to the Galveston campus, Jackie Jolson. You might have known we're working with her in some of your areas, or she was helping me do some of the retirement function as well. So I'm in the process of backfilling those positions. So we're constantly moving, we're constantly growing. But we service, well, before I give you that number, how many people do you think benefit service supports with relationship to retirees, students, staff? About how many? If you already heard this morning, do John Captain say it? How many? Pick a number. Yes, almost. Is it a million? Any number? How many?
60,000.
60,000. It really feels like that. But we're at 16,000, just under 16,000. That's how many people we support. These guys, we support. So all those phone calls, all the emails, I apologize for the delayed response when you're sending an email about the 2 other emails. That's now about 70 emails about that one thing. We have to get through those. And so our inbox, we're working as hard as we can. And I inherited a phenomenal staff. Our inbox, we got it down to 650. And it's back up to the 800s. Okay, and this is with them working and assisting you and taking phone calls and what have you. So I just wanted you to see them. Give these guys an applause. They're all positive. So I'm going to talk to you guys about what's going on in benefits. Thank you guys. I've been here for, get back to work. I've been here now for a little over a year. And on this last year, I've been doing what's called a learning and listening tour. So I've been learning from you guys, and I've been listening to some of the challenges and trying to understand some of the perception gaps between what you perceive my team's ability to be able to do and what we perceive, what we think the HR liaisons are able to do. So in that, we've developed a lot of things to meet your needs. Many of you, you've seen me in the departments. I've come over to your areas. Looking at things like new hire orientation and totally restructuring that. What? Okay. I was like, why are they doing this? I was like, this isn't a game. Okay. Have to stay still. So, employee benefits. Of course, you know us as medical, dental, vision, prescription, and all that good stuff. Life insurance. We handle that, but we also have to get in front of people and explain what that means, especially when you're new coming in, or you're transferring in, or you transferred out. What does that look like? Those calls come to us. We also are talking about retirement. And one of the things I established last year for retirement, versus we do not do 101s for retirement appointments. We do them, but there's a caveat. After they've attended a pre-retirement workshop, so the ones that you're seeing on there, that's people who are getting ready to retire or want to know about retirement. I created a cohort model. It's more effective to service more people, to get them the information that they need. Talking about teachers' retirement system, TRS group, they have their own cohort. TRS folks need to talk to TRS folks. Agreed? And ORP folks need to talk to ORP folks. I don't want to mix company. It's 2 different conversations. Okay? It's been wildly successful. And helping people to understand what do you need to do and prepare for retirement, thinking about retirement. So that was step 1 when I first came in to doing a needs analysis of who's talking to retirees.
but we're going to be doing some other things. I'll be rolling out some new things for 2019, some generational retirement options for international students or international people coming in trying to understand the whole retirement function. It's foreign to people coming from other countries, especially if you're coming from socialist countries. They don't understand the whole retirement process. Our digital natives, our millennials, they're asking their parents or each other. They have no clue about the retirement. This is their first job. Okay, so our baby boomers, many of them are retiring now or retired. So their conversation is going to look a little different, right? And so it's the same with Gen Xers. So I'm going to be creating some things and rolling them out. They will be on train track upcoming in 2019 to talk to people about retirement. And if you're looking at still wanting to change or understand the retirement process, what kind of products we offer here at Texas A&M, I'm creating understanding the retirement process and some things specifically for liaisons. You guys are not tasked with trying to know those granular details. That we do the heavy lifting, okay? But we will get you some support materials to point people to. Workers' compensation, that's a big area for us. We handle the workers' comp stuff has to come through to benefit services. So that's where Judy comes in. She's managing that, and I'll have another person identified on the team that'll be handling that because there's a lot of accidents, slips, falls, first report of injury. Helping you guys understand what to do if something happens to an employee. FMLA. Who's my college of ed folks? They've been awesome. Here, there they are. Did a test pilot this year, continuing the test pilot, examining the FMLA function and understanding what people understand of FMLA, how to administer, how to interpret the laws, because this is federally mandated. This isn't something we made up, and then you've got Texas law, and how all of that works together. And I was telling somebody, my job for the university is to keep us legal for less. I work closely with OCRM, I work with the Office of General Counsel, and I work with you. And sick leave pool, leaves of absence, my team handles all of those things. So how to do that and how to get it all done in Workday. So it's a little bit busy in benefits, and then don't forget the Workday ticketing system. So you met my team, and we know you've got plenty of questions here. I gotta stay on this X, they're gonna kill me. We know you have many questions, and our team is working to help you to develop some processes and things in response to that. So I talked about new hire orientation, totally redesigned it. It's now from like 8 to 12 or something to that effect. It's longer because you need to spend more time with people to give them an opportunity to ask questions and thoroughly understand their benefit product offerings for new hires. And I'm going into the departments. Police, police, I know I go in with them. Anybody from the vet school? Yes, I've gone into the vet school and they've been amazing because we've been helping to streamline the processes and look at people who are ORP eligible and refine that process and understand what's going on in Workday and how we need to get our information out to our people. And in upcoming next year, I'll be getting out into the sciences departments and working with them, working with the Office of the Provost to create and better collaborate with them to have a new hire benefits orientation presence for new incoming faculty so they're not standing there looking at you like, what do I sign up for? What button do I push? I don't understand any of this. Will that help? It's a little bit, okay, I'm working on it. So some things on the Workday for you to know. What to-dos need to be completed to trigger benefits. That direct deposit event must be completed before they get the benefit task. Once that's completed, then you get the privacy task. Then you're going to see the thing that says the Workday to-dos. And if an employee does not have their benefits event, or they say, I never got anything for benefits, right? Sometimes you hear that. The first place you want to check or have them to check their inbox. Go see, did you do anything in your, did you get any questions? Did you answer a list of questions? So I'll have these posted so you can see it or get them out. But these are the benefits onboarding questions. The frequently common mistake people were making with these, that number one question, and we were on a struggle bus trying to get them to change that question because the way they were answering it says, do you have other medical coverage? Well, when I came in September of last year, I had other medical coverage. But that coverage, I could have continued it to the end of that month. So most people are going to say, yes, I do, based on when they come in. But that doesn't mean I don't want your coverage. But Workday is perceiving it that way. So Workday said, well, good, you don't need it. we're not gonna keep that to you as an option. So they just get dental and life insurance and they're pressing buttons like, why can't I get just the medical? Because they answered these questions wrong, or they didn't answer them at all. So this is where all of this right here, if your employee tells you I didn't answer any questions, that's why they didn't get the benefit of that. So TRS election. Employee will answer if they're currently being deducted for TRS. Here at A&M, I've learned you guys use a lot of acronyms. And I was like, stop it, what are you saying to me? What is an ORP and a TRS? And I'm like, wait, whoa. And what was not commonly understood in athletics, Janie's here. Several errors were coming out of her area, I'm picking on your area, because a lot of people were coming out of state from the state of Florida. Florida, Illinois, they also have ORPs, but that's for their state. So people are saying, oh yeah, I got the ORP, and they're gonna click yes. So when you do that in Workday and say yes, now you've caused a whole series of errors that we have to go and correct. Does that make sense? So we have to make sure that they're reading it all the way through. I always say reading's fundamental, but of course we only read just enough to, okay, next. So those are some of the things we learned. So we're making sure we're explaining to people the optional retirement plan of Texas. Did you ever sign up for that? Okay? It's going to ask you, are you currently being deducted for it? You're going to say no if you never have. Someone clicked yes because they thought it said it was for Tennessee something. I'm like, no, it's a teacher. Where did you get Tennessee? Reading is fundamental. So, benefit change hire task. For an employee who's going to sign up, one of the things people have to say, I'm on the blue. Okay, one of the things we tell you guys, please stop telling people you got 60 days. 60 days to sign for benefits. It is not 60 days. There's 3 points of entry a person can sign up for benefits. They can sign up date of hire, first of the month following their date of hire, or the first of the month following their first 60 days of hire. So there's 3 points of entry. Do not assume an employee who's coming in here wants their benefits to start when the state group insurance premium date starts. That's that SCHIP acronym, okay? I was like, I had the hardest time understanding that, okay? Because some people may say it is cheaper to keep their benefits, to get your benefits and pay the COBRA, and then paying the COBRA amount that they might be paying. So they might want their benefits starting day one. What we've learned is a trend, higher wage earners don't have a problem with that. Their benefits are gonna wanna start day one. They're like, I can pay for it, I don't care. It's gonna lower my taxable income anyway. Does that make sense? So you got 3 points of entry. And their benefits task, like this one says higher, benefits change, benefits effective first of the month following first 60 days. Depending on which one they pick, it could say date of hire, or it'll say the first of the month after, or it'll say the 60 days. Okay, make sense? When they get the benefit election, one of the common errors people make, they forget to check that they're not a smoker, or they don't use tobacco. They have not used tobacco in the last 3 months. They should be marking no, or they're going to pay a higher premium for that. So we get a request for refunds or adjustments that we have to do because people are saying, well, I don't smoke, and why am I getting charged for it? So they need to make sure that you're advising them to check no for that box. Benefit change hire task for new hires. This is a screenshot that you can't, I've got glasses, but I don't have them on. But I'm sorry, I messed it up. I'm sorry. Sorry. So that's a screen that you can see here. Okay. And I'm on the blue line. Okay. So this screen here is showing the if you have grad students, for many of you in this room, I know some of your faces, you have grad students. If they're truly in a grad plan, one of the things I had to assess, why are our grad students defaulting to A&M plan? As of September 1, all of our grad students that are truly grad students, they are defaulting to the grad plan now. That's going to alleviate their ability to gobbling up their stipends. This has been a big problem for a lot of students because they were going into the wrong plan. So you want to advise them, if you're a grad student, pick the grad plan, okay? not A&M care plan. Most of us don't get A&M care. Then there's the dental. There is a difference between HMO dental and PPO plan. There is a difference. If they want to know, they can call our office. It's not expected for you guys to know that. Daycare flexible spending account. Flexible spending account is with Navia. It is not with PayFlex. If you had PayFlex and had a balance left on PayFlex, then you have till November 15th, because we're a grandfather plan, to use last year or exhaust last year's benefits. So if you don't kind of know what to use it on, do like me and go to Lynn's Crafters or someplace and buy $1,000 worth of glasses. That'll help spend it down. I can never find my glasses anyway. So I was like, let me use that. You can use it for over-the-counter medications with a prescription. You can go to Massage Envy and get a massage, and it's now covered, because 2 years ago, unbeknownst to most people, that they removed the restriction of having to have a medical prescription for a massage. We're all stressed because Workday gives us that. So you get okay? Here's your flexible spending. Okay? So, life insurance, basic life. The university provides you $7,500 worth of basic life insurance. What we need to make sure we're communicating to new hires coming in, or optional life. If you did not pick optional life and you want to pick it, you can at open enrollment. But if you've never had it before, it's going to ask you for something called evidence of insurability. You need to make sure you're healthy enough so that they can insure you. New hires, however, we want the recommended that we tell people, go for 3 times your annual salary. It's guaranteed issue when you first come in the door. So when you come in, get everything you can get. No insurance company is going to tell you that you, if you want to go down the next year from 3 times to 2 times, that you can have less insurance. They're never going to tell you that. It's when you ask for more money, that's where you get the evidence of insurability comes in. Dependent life plans, make sure you're looking at that, but we have to have the dependent life products. Eligibility docs for your kids, your spouses. We have to have that, or significant others. So we have to have those documents, and you do not put them in Workday, please. Please don't. They go on HR Legacy Connect, not in Workday. The last thing about the life insurance, please make sure you are not putting in beneficiary information for your employees. Employees should be doing that. The beneficiaries, that's a legal document. I'm a surviving spouse, and I would have to kill a rock over somebody that would change my beneficiary and I didn't get anything. Okay, you don't want to have that conversation where somebody goes in and changing beneficiaries, because that person can come back and you have a lawsuit on your hands and I never changed that, and that's going to be very hard to prove. Okay, so they should be doing it. It's not intuitive, but if someone needs help with learning how to add or dependents or beneficiaries, we can help you with that. Okay. Please make sure when the person is done that they hit the submit. I agree, the little checkbox, and hit submit. Many times benefits are not enrolled because they didn't submit to them. They didn't click the submit box. And lastly, we've got trainings that are coming. So help is on the way. The team is expanding. While Jackie is no longer with us, I am facilitating the pre-retirement workshops right now. There's only 2 right now this week. Next week you'll probably see a whole bunch of them all the way through 2019 for ORP and TRS trainings. And you'll start seeing by February some more trainings for the other ones I was telling you about. Paul Castellea is the point of contact if someone needs an appointment. But not everybody needs one. If they have not gone to a pre-retirement workshop, that's our first question. They need to go in and sign up for Train Track. If they're wait listed, that's okay, because a lot of times I'm reaching out to them and inviting them to come to the sessions, and we'll make room for them. The last one I had, I think it was last week or a couple weeks ago, it was standing room only, but it was packed out, and people can bring their spouses or significant others, because it's an important decision when you're trying to understand retirement. I don't mind those things. And if we need to get another room for 2019, I can do that to accommodate more people. We can definitely do that. So, we're here to help you. Trainings are coming out. With Mary, they're like the time police back there. And if you need assistance or have any questions, call us first at 979-862-1718. And then the benefits at tamu.edu, but call us. Does anybody have any questions? Yes.
We have an employee in our department that she's retiring this last January.
Last, like January 18th? Oh, January, okay.
And she's received some TRS packet,
Mhm.
and she just had questions about filling out those forms.
That's in the pre-retirement workshop.
Which, she just wanted an appointment, but
We cover all of that. We go soup to nuts. Everything that you need to know about the forms, what you have, because the first thing is to get the forms, what to order, everything, because we can't tell a person what to fill out on those forms. So the TRS is their own agency, that's with the state, so they have specific questions relating to how do you read this, they need to be contacting TRS.
she's been having problems getting it done.
If it's a matter of notarizing it, two of my team are notaries, and shortly, all of my team will be notaries to be able to notarize those forms.
But if she has more questions, she has trouble, she can't get hold of anybody.
Okay, I'll get the person's name from you offline, and then I'll reach out to them. The question was, what was the question? The question was, I have a person that's retiring the end of January. She wanted to see somebody to talk about her TRS paperwork and what to fill out. I advise her, I can't tell somebody what they're supposed to fill out. None of my staff can. Who they should put as beneficiaries, that sometimes they ask, can we do this? Which of the retirement plans they should select. We can't tell a person that. They really need to be contacting TRS about what that is, because it's going to be unique to their specific needs. We can just give generalized information, and we go over this in our pre-retirement workshops for them. We're doing the forms. They actually come to us for notarized. They need to be notarized. We can notarize them. We will check your completed paperwork in, and we're scheduling appointments for half an hour blocks to do that. And then we notarize it, check over everything, and then you're out the door and sending those things off to TRS. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Question. So, what do you do if you want to find out how many more years you have left before you can retire?
The question is, what do you want to do if you want to find out how many more years do you have left until you retire? You can call our office. I would call Judy Kurtz. She's not here, so she can't kill me, but call her. Because the first thing we're going to look in Workday and look at some things to look and see what the service credit is being reported that we are showing in the system. But we even reach over to payroll to see what some things they might show. Historical legacy systems, and then we'll give you that information that we have, and then from that point, if you're enrolled in TRS, we would advise you to, this is what our records are showing, and then advise you to contact TRS to verify if it's matching up. Yes, ma'am.
You think your staff is also going to assist you with public health?
Yeah, why wouldn't I do that? She said, can I say this? She said, me and my staff, will we assist the School of Public Health? Yeah. Is that okay? I'll assist anybody. I don't have I can assist anyone.
So the answer to that is, we are,
Oh, I was like, she's pointing at me.
Okay, so the question was, is our benefit services team also servicing HSC? The answer is yes and no.
Yes, fish.
Yes, I can't even say that. So we are incorporating HSC into all of our units within HROE. Recruiting was the first to kind of bring them under their wing. Compensation has now kind of taken HSC. Benefits, we're still kind of working off of the old model. Tricia Landers, who had to step away, she is still kind of focusing on that benefits for the HSC, but they will eventually fall under Marlo's wing as well.
And I can see, currently I can see HSC. I can see their stuff. Tricia, usually for the benefits specific questions, I hand those over to Tricia so she'll work those. The people that your team that wants to come to the retirement counseling sessions, I've opened that up to them early spring. So they've been coming, so they're able to sign up and attend. Any other questions? Yes?
I see you want to tell them where to find those pre-retirement workshops.
They're on train track. However, the police is standing up. They're on train track, but you're going to see, I would tell you to go look towards the end of next week and I'll have a whole bunch more. The next one is November 20th, and I want to say January 19th is the last. It's January 19th and the 20th for TRS. And then I'll have a whole bunch for ORP and TRS for all of 2019 and some of the new ones. Okay? Any others? Wait, yes, ma'am?
Okay, so I need to ask this question because I cannot seem to get an answer. So if your hire date is incorrect in workday, does that cause an issue, your hire date in user service? Is that an issue when it comes to retirement?
No. I know exactly what you're talking about. So in Workday now, there is some information that's visible to employees that previously you didn't really see because it was in the legacy system, BPP, and not a lot of people have access to that outside of HROE and payroll services. So on your profile, you can see your original hire date and hire date. Okay, so there's 2 dates, okay? In the BPP system, again, that information was housed in BPP. It transitioned over into Workday, but it really didn't have a true function. So your original hire date is the date you start within the A&M system. Wherever you start in the A&M system, that's your original hire date. The other date, which is a more current date, at some point the directive was given, only update that if, and I'm watching Q back there to make sure I get this right, only update that field if they are changing positions, correct? Okay, so that was a manual entry that if someone was changing from one position to another, that got updated. Then at some point in time they said, oh, well, if they have a title change or something, you can go ahead and update it then. So there hasn't been a consistent directive as to what those fields were used for. But again, now that we've moved into Workday, that information is visible. It has nothing to do with your state service, longevity, any of that. It was just kind of a record-keeping system in the legacy system. So if you have issues with those dates, you can let us know. We'll look back in historical information to see and tell you why those dates are as they are. So again, it was a manual entry, and so depending on what part of or what timing we were in and who was giving the directives, that changed based on what you were doing with that. Okay, so it's kind of garbage in, garbage out kind of thing. Does that help? Yes, ma'am.
So how far out from your anticipated retirement date should you take the pre-retirement workshop?
Those retirement workshops are set up for people that are a year away, from a year to tomorrow. Okay. So and if you want to come, even if you're just thinking about it, because a lot of people say, oh, I don't want to come, I'm going to meet one-on-one. It's going to give you all the things that you need to know to consider. I talk about Social Security, Medicare, all of that stuff. So, it's for anybody that really wants information about how to retire and how to look at the retirement options.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. Next up we have our Director of Professional Development, Tara Gray. Is that loud enough? You guys hear me?
You have to stand on that.
Oh, yes. See, in professional development, we like to move. You guys know us, so it's going to be really hard. All right. So, I started back in January, for those of you who don't know, and when I first came in, did a needs assessment. And part of that involved looking at a lot of information, a lot of data, meeting with people across different colleges and divisions. It was about 120-something people. That was a lot of time. It's really hard for a natural introvert to do that. But my experience in doing that in the past is that you get more candid responses. And we were trying to identify what's working, what do we need to do better. So the current state, I'm going to actually ask you guys, looking at this progression, and this is based off of Burson Associates, which is a benchmark that's highly used in the learning and organization development space.
Where do you think we are in this progression? This last bullet here, process driven by employees, means that it's up to employees to go figure it out. Okay, so that's what that means. Where do you think we are in this progression? What do you think? I see it here, bid for number 1. Yeah, so when sharing this with the professional development team and also a subset of that needs assessment population, we pulled in probably about 50 people as a focus group. My team and the focus group all agreed we were here at number 1. We need to be over here all the way to the right. Okay, I moved off the X. What about this one? What do you think? I hear a 1 and a 2, and yeah, it was when my team and also the focus group was somewhere between 1 and 2. Again, we need to be all the way to the right. Okay. So, in addition to the benchmarks and then also the needs assessment, it was identified that we have an opportunity in professional development to essentially revamp our competency development practice so it better meets the university needs, and I'll talk about that here in a moment. And also align what we do with current benchmarks. So, I'm jumping around, I know, apologies for that. So what we're going to do is we are transforming how we develop faculty, staff, and administrators. Before I get into the details, what do you guys think was the number 1 theme? There was lots of themes. And interestingly enough, I didn't share this with this morning session, is when doing needs assessments in the past, we had a diversity population, less experience, more experience, faculty, staff, administrators, supervisors, non-administrators, different colleges, different divisions. It was fantastic diversity. Typically you have different themes depending on what the demographics are. It was pretty consistent. It was pretty consistent. But I'm going to ask, what do you think the number 1 theme is? Okay. Other than Workday. I had to actually go, after doing so many interviews, I was like, okay, we're not going to talk about Workday. That's a given. Let's just say it's a given. So yes, Workday, but what do you think the next number 1 theme is? Those of you who have been in the working groups or SMEs or in these focus groups, don't answer. Yes, training, specifically any, yes? Leadership? Yeah. So her response was, I'm going to get off the X because she gets a prize. The response was, thank you. So yes, the number 1, probably other than Workday, was it was something to the effect of we need to do a better job of developing our supervisors, managers, and leaders to be supervisors, managers, and leaders. Okay? So we're going to be going forward less focused on software training. We did a lot of Microsoft Office, Adobe, certificate programs, and train track support across the system. In case you didn't know, we don't just do train track support for Texas A&M main campus. We do it for all of the entities within the system. Okay? It doesn't mean we're not going to be doing this. It means we're going to be more focused on more looking at the holistic and also systems thinking approach. And system thinking is a word in our field that's more looking at how the organization is organized and how it operates. So we're going to be looking at key functions, like if you look at HR, if you look at business, if you look at faculty, key functions within the organization and key roles, and also helping people learn, helping you guys learn and practice what you need to know and do for your job. All right. One of the things that came out of the needs assessment is that we don't have consistent development for those common functions or roles across the university, which leads to inconsistency and some errors. And typically people learn by trial and error or by fire. So we need to do a better job of preparing them for their job. The other thing is having a longer-term outlook and progressive development. So instead of what you need now, but maybe what do you need now, the next year, the next 3 years, the next 5 years. Okay? And then expanding learning, technology, evaluation, organization development. So interesting in the needs assessment, one of the questions was, what's the preferred delivery method? Hands down, most people said face-to-face instructor-led, which is similar to what is common in practice and research. It's demonstrated that face-to-face instructor-led is more conducive to learning and behavior change. Despite this whole thing that people are saying we need to go to e-learning, we need to go to e-learning, right? But that's a trend, that's a fad. There's a time and a place also that came up in the needs assessment that those simpler topics or even things I need to, basically I went through training, but I need to just reference like on-the-job support, having that as e-learning. Okay, so we will have more focus there on learning technology. The evaluation, not to scare you, it's not an evaluation of you, it's more of an evaluation for us. So we need to do a better job of evaluating to make sure that the development you get is actually meaningful and useful, you're learning from it, and that you're able to use it on the job, because if not, then why are we doing it, okay? So different components here. One of the things that came out of the needs assessment was we have orientation onboarding, but it needs to be not just the 3 hours, but it needs to be longer. That doesn't mean 3 hours to a full day. People said having that orientation onboarding be, what do I need to know my first day? Actually, before I come to A&M, my first day, my first month, 3 months, 6 months, a year, okay? Also that integration or link with the different colleges and divisions. In addition, a fit for purpose. So me being a former student, I'm an undergrad and also grad, I may not need to know Texas A&M's culture, right? I'm familiar with that, but that's currently in our orientation onboarding for everybody, okay? Also, we hire a lot of student workers, or students, I should say. This is their first professional job. Similar to when I took my first professional corporate job, they hired a lot of university students and they educated us on, which I forgot about this until I went through the needs assessment, they educated on us what to wear, what not to wear, how to interact with people, what not to say, even how to write. I heard a lot of feedback in the needs assessment that new students coming in having to write a coherent, organized, structured email without a whole lot of acronyms. Marla would, Marla go. So we're looking at that, having progressive leadership development, which actually let me go ahead and go there. So what we are working on is a progressive leadership development under the context that everybody's a leader. You do not have to be a supervisor or manager to be a leader. So the first level is leading self, and so what are the development activities for leading self? Then leading others, and this is supervisors, project managers, committee chairs, and faculty. Then going to leading the function, which are department heads, directors, associate deans, and then leading the organization, which is the VPs and deans. Okay, and so we're developing programs to help people prepare for those roles and make sure that there's consistency. Okay. The functional technical piece, go back, is for those key functional roles, like I said, HR, business, there's some others, and there may be others that we haven't identified yet, is we're coming up with what exactly do they need to know and do for their job, because whatever they need to know becomes part of a curriculum, and everybody goes through that curriculum. And we'll have pre and post testing. Again, not an indication of your performance, it's more making sure that you're learning what you're expected to learn. You come into that class and you make an 50 and it goes up to 85, cool. If you come into that class and make it 85 to 50, we got problems. And it could be the facilitator, it could be bad test question, it could be the content. So it's more, again, an evaluation for us to make sure that we're giving you what you need to be successful. The other aspect I mentioned, that long-term development. So this was a recommendation for that long-term development, which are learning and development paths. So each of those key functional roles, having a learning and development path that maps out what you need to do to develop, or development activities from that awareness, somebody brand new coming into the university, all the way to skilled application. It doesn't have to be a class. These things in the middle here in the blue are actually on-the-job activities, helping you build that breadth and depth. Okay, so we'll be working with subject matter experts to build that out. So it's a lot to do. This is a huge transformation, and we can't do it all by year end, so there's a shaping plan. Anything that's in blue are things that we were targeting to have done by end of the year, January this year. It's slipped a little bit, but one of the things is defining values. One of the other things that came out of the needs assessment is that we have Texas A&M core values, but when it comes to selfless service or integrity or leadership, that may mean something very different to me than it means to Pamela, okay? Than it means to Nancy. So a lot of organizations have their values defined, so we've worked at defining those values. In addition, working on the leading others, because supervisor, manager, leader was a huge critical issue. We need to start with that leading others as a target, and then Workday. Okay, and I'll let Nancy come up here a little bit and talk about Workday. As we go forward, once we finish that, we'll get orientation, onboarding, and then we've got leading self. Into next fiscal year, we're looking at the leading the function, and then the business and HR liaison functions. And then fiscal year 21, you can see they're developing and piloting some other functions that have been identified thus far, as well as leading the organization. Okay? So I'm going to let Nancy, because one of the things we discovered when the group started working on the Workday piece, it was bigger than anybody anticipated. And it's basically preparing for the change. You guys are laughing. I'm not kidding you. And so it's a bigger scope of work than anybody anticipated. So Nancy's been working with some people, and because it's bigger than what we anticipated, we can't pilot it by the target of January. They've come up with a sub-shaping plan for you guys. Howdy. So my team in PD, which is Becky and Casey and myself, have been working with a great team of HR liaisons and HROE staff and payroll staff to look at Workday. We started with defining a list of all the business processes, and then what employee group is involved in that business process, whether it's an employee, manager, HR liaison, an HROE partner, a payroll partner. And so from that, we started then diving into HR liaison group. And HR liaisons, as you know, are in Workday all the time, answering questions for employees and managers. And so we felt like as a team that we really need to focus on what does every HR liaison need to know to be successful with Workday. So we developed a shaping plan. We'll focus first on the HR liaison. So as you can see in February, we're going to develop and pilot classroom training in several different areas for HR liaisons, the essentials, areas such as position management, recruiting, hiring, compensation, all of those areas that you work with, benefits. We'll also develop and pilot classroom training for employee at the basic level, because HR liaisons are first employees. Then in March, we will focus on performance management. And then in May, we will implement what we piloted in February. That will all go live. And then we'll start working on developing and piloting merit. Merit is then implemented in July. And then in July, we'll start focusing on managers. What do managers need to know to be successful in Workday? And also some other areas with employee talent management. And finally, in September, we will implement what we developed for the managers, and then we'll also look at some development and pilot in other areas that are very more specialized to the partner roles and projects with HR liaisons. So that is our plan, and we look forward to working with you as we start implementing it. I'll pass it back to Tara. Nancy alluded to some of the people that she's been working with, so this is taking a village to do this. It's a lot of work to do to revamp how we develop our employees. And this is the people who have been along on the journey thus far. It's not only the functional SMEs to work on the leading others and Workday, but what we do have is we call it a decision review board, and this entire effort is like smaller projects, not small projects, they're still big, but smaller projects. The overarching project, we have a decision review board who's kind of overseeing things to make sure we're headed in the right direction or give us additional guidance. So it's taking a village to put this together. And I'm actually going to ask anybody who's in here who's on either a Workday, the leading others, or the DRB, if you can stand up. Yeah, so there are some people in here. So please give them a big round of applause. thus far, we've made a lot of progress, which I'll show you here in a little bit, but thus far, we've been meeting at least 3 hours once a week to try to get things done thus far. And then I'm also going to have the PD team stand up if you can, because as a shaping plan, you guys know, you see, we are going to be working our tails off for the next 3+ years, so please give them a big round of applause as well. So there's a lot of them in the back, as you guys know. So just to let you guys know, again, we've been already doing some work. We're targeting to pilot Workday at the beginning of February, and then targeting to pilot leading others the end of February, beginning of March. And the point of the pilot is whatever we've developed to basically test to make sure it meets needs before we roll it out. That's very, very important because you can imagine people working in the details for so long, it's hard to see the forest through the trees. So that's the intent of the pilot. And I'm going to say some final thoughts, which I don't think I got to the slide at the morning session. So we are transforming how we develop our competencies. It's going to take a village to be successful. We need your support, flexibility, and patience through this transition. For instance, we are going to continue to support your professional developmental needs, but it's going to be in a limited capacity. Just be patient because what's going to come in the next year or two, you guys will be impressed with, okay? So, and then, like we already did, much appreciated kudos for everybody who's involved and will be involved going forward because it takes a lot of time and effort to do this. So, questions, comments for us?
Thank you to Tara and professional development. You can see they are going to be working really hard over the next few years to really get us up and running with all the trainings that need to be happening. Thank you guys as they all exit to go back and work again. Go get to work. So we do. They come in and then we send them off. Next we're going to be hearing from our classification and compensation team. We have Michelle Steedley and Evelyn. I always want to mess up your last name. So Evelyn is coming over here. They're going to talk to us about their department.
Thank you, Melanie. Howdy. Howdy. And happy Halloween. I'm Michelle Steedley, and I'm the manager of the Classification and Compensation Office. I feel like I'm letting down just a little bit today. I didn't know my counterparts were bringing candy and prizes. And I have to admit, this presentation is prize-free. So hopefully you'll still hang with me. We've got a great presentation for you today from Evelyn Castaneda, who's going to have some helpful Workday tips for you. But before we get to that, it's been a long time since we've all been together. We've had some staffing changes, and I just wanted to give you a brief update on that and introduce you to a couple of our newest folks. We had a good run of several years without any staffing changes, but this year we've had a couple of folks leave us. The first one was Doug Denning, who left us in March. He decided it was time to retire for good this time, so he's moved on and is enjoying his retirement. The other one that we had this year was a big one. In August, Lee Starnes left our employment. He was our Workday subject matter expert, so that was a big loss. His wife got her dream job in Houston, and Lee got a really great job there too. So they moved on. And while we miss both Lee and Doug, we have hired some really great folks since then, and I'd like to introduce a couple of them to you at this time. The first is Laura Krejcia. Laura is back there against that wall. Laura is a senior class and comp analyst. She started in February with us. We were fortunate enough to hire her away from Sam Houston State, where she was a class and comp analyst there. So she had great directly translatable experience, and that's allowed her to come in and hit the ground running and make an immediate impact on our work unit. Laura works with you on class and comp actions. She is the one who reviews and approves all of the PD updates that you send in, and she responds to a lot of your compensation and Workday related tickets that you send in. In August, we were fortunate enough to create a new position, a new class and comp analyst position. This one's a little bit different than our other folks.
This one we created specifically to help us with some of the new payroll-related actions that are coming our way in Workday now. We've hired Lisa Barron into that position. Lisa's back in the back there. Some of you may already know Lisa. She used to work in the payroll office here at A&M, but most recently she's been working in the payroll office over at our Cutter campus. So she's got a wealth of experience, and we're glad that she has joined us. She has been a big help in helping us research payroll-related issues in Workday that you've had. She reviews and approves a lot of the payroll actions that come our way in Workday, and she also responds to a lot of your Workday tickets. I'm really happy to announce that tomorrow we have a new class and comp analyst starting in our office. This is to backfill Lee's position, but in just a slightly different role. His name is Evan Arambola, and he comes to us with some compensation experience in higher education as well. So we feel very fortunate to have him coming on board tomorrow, and he's going to be a great addition. But never fear, your seasoned veterans are still here, and by that I'm talking about John Williams and Evelyn, who I'm sure you've all worked with for many, many years. John is our resident expert in all things related to the Fair Labor Standards Act. He also works on your comp actions, and he responds to a lot of your compensation questions that you send our way. Since Lee's departure, Evelyn has seamlessly stepped into the role of subject matter expert for Workday, and she is doing a phenomenal job. She also works on your class and comp actions, and she is the primary responder to your Workday tickets. So if you send them in, there's a good chance Evelyn's the one that's responded back to you. Other than, yes, I am also part of the staff, obviously, and that rounds out the update on our staffing. I will turn it over to Evelyn now, who's going to give you some helpful information about Workday.
Thank you, Michelle. To start with, we have some information to share with you. Some of this you may be familiar with. For others being new, this may be new information for you. And so we recommend that you use online job guides, the templates, and also other resources that we have when you create a new position, when you reclassify, when you're handling dual employment, internal promotion and transfer. There's a lot of things going on. Compensation and job changes as well. We also ask that you initiate these actions for your manager, because when you don't, they go straight to HR, so there's no departmental review, or there could be a departmental HR review that's being skipped. And so those are two of the big things that we ask for. The others provide detailed comments of what you are submitting. We have, and I've seen, requests that come over with no comments. If it's a reclassification and there's no comments provided, I won't know the justification for the title that's being proposed, or the salary that is proposed, or any other information that could be helpful in that review. So where can you find this information? This information is available to you online at employees.tmu.edu/compensation. This is our main page. And on our main page, we have job changes, compensation changes, system-wide pay plan titles and salaries for Texas A&M University, as well as other information. If we focus on job changes, the first thing you'll see is creating a new position. With creating a position, we have a job guide, which is a create position business process in Workday. This job guide provides detailed information to guide you through the business process. We also have the position description template for use in Workday. This is a template that you'll use when you create a position, when you are reclassifying a position, when you do an update. The template is more of a format to ensure consistency in how we set up the position descriptions. But not only that, it provides information that we need when we review your request. Along with that, if you are more of a visual learner, the Workday Help, this is on your single sign menu, does have job aids. Just keep in mind that they are geared more towards a broad audience of system members, so they will not have all the detail that we have outlined in our business processes.
job guides. I'm sorry, let me go back one more time. What you don't see if you go to this webpage, let me rephrase that. What you don't see, but is available on the webpage, is the information for updating a position, reclassifying a position, dual employment, and internal promotion and transfer. We just couldn't fit all that in this one slide. A couple more things. We are okay with attachments if they are appropriate and necessary for the review of the request. Acceptable documents include resumes for reclassifications and internal promotion and transfer, salary memos for compensation changes, and for new positions and reorganizations, you can attach organizational charts. For Health Science Center contacts, we still recommend that you follow your internal approval process. The next two are more reminders. The HR contact does have the ability to cancel in progress business processes. Once it is complete, it then comes to, if you need a correction or if the process needs to be completely undone or rescind, you have to reach out to classification and compensation. We can address those matters for you. We do like to evaluate them and do some research to see if there's going to be any type of impacts that could affect the pay or benefits, but not just that. We may have to coordinate with benefits and payroll as well. Now, if we're unable to resolve your issue, we may have to reach out to Workday support at the system office. And so with that, we ask that you provide detailed comments when you submit information to us for an error that you're seeing or something that is just almost seems like it's impossible to explain. But if you can provide us some information, we can get back in touch with you and from there, hopefully work on providing a solution for you. The next couple of items are really, really important, and payroll will talk in greater detail. We ask that you review the payroll resources that they have on their website, which are the bi-weekly and monthly calendars and schedules, as well as, I feel like I'm drawing a blank on this one, the spreadsheet sheet. Okay, I think I'll have to come back on that one. But we just ask that you review the resources that they provide because they do have due dates. They do have information that you need to know if you are processing something that should have been processed a month before, because then retro comes into play and you do need to get things done within a certain due date. Along with reviewing the payroll resources, we ask that you run reports. Running reports is really important because it ensures that the individual, if you did have a compensation change that was processed and completed, if you run the report, you can then make sure that that change does show up on their pay. So if you have questions about Workday classification and compensation tasks, we ask that you email hrcomp@tamu.edu. This will allow us to track and identify common issues and errors. That way we can create new tools for you. If not, we can at least update the existing tools that we have. We also ask that when you send those requests, and this might sound common, that you provide detailed information because that is what we're going to use to start researching your request. And also include snapshots. Sometimes it's hard to explain an error, but it's a lot easier to take a snapshot of that error so that we can see it, we can identify the issue, and provide a correction if possible. So final thoughts, use the online resources that we have available on our web pages, provide detailed comments, and email hrcomp@tamu.edu for help with classification and compensation tasks in Workday. And do you have any questions? Thank you very much.
I'm trying to decide if you guys aren't asking questions because you really don't have questions or you just want to go trick-or-treating. Get out of here quicker. Okay, so we have our next presentation, which is with payroll. So Laura Carino and Dawn from payroll will be here to present to you. Okay, howdy. Whew, I'm the last one. It's just me between you and going home, right? Hopefully before the rain, before the cold front. So, my name is Laura Carino. I'm with Payroll Services. This is Dawn Cease, and she's awesome payroll processing. Many of you guys talk to her. And our processing team, you know, we have the teams and then your contacts that you call every day. There are two main things that I want to talk to you about today. I'm not going to follow the PowerPoint presentation. It will be available to you, but I want to get you started with telling you the two main things are, one is, like Evelyn mentioned, the payroll deadlines. Payroll deadlines are very important because of some changes that we have had since Workday was implemented. The other big thing that impacted the payroll area and the way that you paid for extra pay, we'll discuss that also. So two of the things to be aware with biweekly and monthly payroll deadlines is that we have now what is called retroactive deadlines, and then we have current cycle. So we'll talk about the differences of those two and the way that we do business now with Workday and the way we used to do business prior to Workday. So another thing with the biweekly and the monthly deadlines to be aware of is your report verifications. Reports are very important, and they are available to you at meeting times, and I'll give you more tips about that also. On the extra pay, the main thing to think about that is that now extra pay will be either through a compensation change, because just like benefits, you know, you have not only your medical, dental, insurance that is your benefits. Benefits encompasses a lot of other things. Same thing with compensation. Allowances are part of an employee's compensation, and that's the way that, you know, Workday groups compensation now together with many different payments. And then we'll show you the new form that we have created as of September 1st and the payments that you will continue to submit to payroll via the paper form. So the first thing that I want to show you is our calendar. Hopefully many of you are familiar with this calendar. Hope that you have it somewhere on your desk. I don't expect anybody to remember the deadlines. I have the calendar as well. You know, that's how I plan my day. That's how all of our staff plans their day. And so we have the calendar available for you, and we have color-coded it differently so that you can tell the different deadlines that are available. Another thing that I want to show you before we go into the calendar in detail is we have created a calendar key. We were asked to define what things meant on our calendar. Apparently, you know, things are not as clear as we thought. So we have gone and taken every deadline that you see on the calendar, and we have given you an explanation in more detail. This is all available on our website, and it's also available when you get the weekly LNN news. We have some deadlines on that available, and then we also have the key provided to you so that, you know, in case you don't understand, well, what do they mean by number 19-05, you know, just kind of like Marlo talked about, us talking, you know, in code, the A&M code system, and that's what, you know, we have done here. We have told you what each of these deadlines mean. So if we go back to the calendar, I'll give you some examples of what I'm talking about. We're going to start with November, just because that starts tomorrow, and that way you can kind of start looking at those deadlines and plan ahead. So there's a total of 9 deadlines on the biweekly calendar. There are, the first ones, like I said, were the retro deadlines. And we can see on the first, on Thursday, that we have the retro timelines and EP approvals due at 5 o'clock. What does that mean? Retro is now in Workday taking care of all those things that you used to do on EPAs, and then you had to submit on a supplemental. And many people question that, right? Like, I've already done the EPA, why do I still need to do a supplemental? Well, because we had to manually enter that into the old system. So you had to kind of tell the system, because they were different systems. They were not talking to each other. Workday talks, all the way through from the beginning to the end. That's why business processes that you do all throughout affect the payroll, right? Affect a paycheck for an employee. So on the first, we have number 19-05 retro timesheet. So that means that anything prior to pay period number 5, it's due on that day. And all of the retro deadlines are ahead of the current cycle. So the current cycle for the biweekly started on October the 21st, and it's going to end on, is it 21st? Through the 3rd. So that's your 2 weeks. So any timesheet corrections that an employee has to make, they have to do them by 5 o'clock on Thursday. So if they don't do them then, that means they're going to have to wait another biweekly pay cycle to get paid for those. And then on Monday, the 5th, then we have the current cycle. So that's fiscal year 19, pay period number 5. Timesheets are due at 11 o'clock. BP needs business processes, and you can find all that information on the key details. But that means current cycles. So anything from the 21st of October through the 5th, that's going to be due on Monday. And a lot of times, managers or employees do not realize the difference, and sometimes they try to turn everything in on Monday. And then when the paycheck is received, then they question, okay, I submitted everything on Monday. How come I only got paid for, part of the timesheet that I submitted and not everything? Well, it's got to do with the 2 different deadlines. So that's very important that you know, and that you communicate that out to the ones that need to know, who are your employees and your managers. Business approvals, so that means anything and everything that affects the paycheck, which is basically everything, right? You change a title, you change salary, you change benefits, you add an allowance, whatever you do, business process-wise, has to be done by the deadline also. And again, we have the retro earlier than the current. So on the 1st, all the business processes that affected that prior biweekly pay periods have to be done on that day. Another thing that I said was the reports. So on the 5th is the first time that you have your report available for the biweekly employees. And the reason we do that is because if timesheets are due at 11, we want to provide the report with the most accurate information possible for you. So we're trying to give the and then what we do, and we want to show you what the report shows. So the report is replacing a lot of things that you used to review. So one of the things is that your jobs have changed with Workday, but you're still kind of doing the same thing in a different way with different tools, right? So you used to look at the RP review and time track. You used to do the BDD for the monthly payroll. And then you used to review the PDD after the payroll happened. Well, now you just have one report. This one report gives you everything. And the beauty of it is really real time. So you get the information every time you pull the report. There's no more waiting until the payroll finalizes to find out the information. And if you look here, you have everything really that you need. You have the employee's name, position information, you have gross pay, you have deduction totals, you have net pay. So if you have someone with a net pay of a 0, that should be a red line, right? I mean, a red flag. That's like, okay, why are they getting a net pay of 0? We also have some information about journal entries. So you have an account listed on there, so you know what account they're being paid from. You also have pay component, which is the type of payment they're receiving. So you know if they're receiving an allowance, if they're receiving extra pay for teaching an extra class, you know if they're receiving longevity or lump sum vacation payout. So everything, you know, it's listed on there. Yes, sir. One-time payment? This is the pay review for a pay period, pay cap report.
the one-time payments will show on.
So you're saying one-time payments do not show here?
If you extra that on,
It's on there. Because the pay component, it's when you do a one-time payment, you choose a pay component depending on the type of work it's for. So for example, what did we have, like teaching in excess of 100%, you would do that as a one-time payment. That shows as a pay component. It doesn't say one-time payment. It would be whatever pay component you chose as your one-time payment. Okay, if we go back to the calendar, the other thing that you can do for your employees as far as timesheets is on the 6th, you can see that timekeepers can make updates to the timesheets even though they're locked for the employee. So the employee has until the end of Monday to submit the timesheet. But if somebody didn't do it or comes in late and says, hey, can you do this for me? Timekeepers can go and make those updates for your employees. And you have all day on that 6th of November to make updates. So if you send emails or however you communicate with your employees to submit timesheets and then to your managers to approve them, you technically have another extra day to be nice and kind of help them out to get paid. So we kind of have that availability there with Workday. Now on the monthly. The monthly deadlines are basically the same as the biweekly. We have retro, we have current, and then you have the same reports. The thing with monthly that is different is that you have a whole lot more longer to review your report and actually more time to finish up all the business processes that are pending. So, we have on the 14th, you have your monthly retro business processes approval due at 5 p.m. So anything that happened prior to November 1st will be due on the 14th to be included on the December 1st paycheck. And then anything else you have until the 21st. That's the current monthly business process approval. And look in between the 14th and the 21st, we provide the reports for you every day. So the first time you have available is on the 15th. The monthly pay calc results report is available at noon. And then after that, we refresh those for you on the 16th, 19th, 20th, 21st, and 26th. So when you pull that report, that's the one that's going to tell you who's not on there, who's paying, the wrong amount under the wrong account, and that's giving you almost about a week to make the corrections to make sure that somebody receives the right paycheck on December the 1st. I think that's it on that. So it's basically 3 things for both pay cycles that you have to think about. The next thing that I want to tell you about is the extra pay and how that is different now. Now extra pay is not done on a supplemental form. Our old system, we had to do a lot of duplicate effort. So you guys entered all the information on the paper form, and then the payroll office basically just entered it for you in the payroll system because you didn't have access to the payroll system. That's all we were doing. We were double entering. It was double entry on our part. So that was duplication of effort. Now we're more efficient with Workday because you're going directly into Workday and entering either a compensation change or a one-time payment, and we don't have to touch it again. So we have provided a list up here, and it's on the payroll website. We have sent it out on Element also, and it just tells you the difference between a one-time payment versus a compensation change. And we're giving you basically some of the most common examples that we have had, and those are listed on here, which are one-time payments would be what the extra pay, like teaching in excess of 100%, extra pay outside of your normal job duties. So anything that is not base pay for that employee will be one-time payment. And compensation changes are more on your allowances, like the cell phone allowance that some of the employees get, uniform allowances, department head stipends, temporary salary increases, those would be compensation. One thing that is not either a compensation change or a one-time payment is salary or hours worked. This is old ways of doing things. We used to do, like I said, the supplemental on top of the EPA to pay somebody for salary or hours worked. That doesn't work in Workday. In Workday, we have a process that's called retro process, that Workday does all of that for you, and it goes back, and when you submit all of those business processes by the deadline, this retro process goes back and knows that you have done something prior to the current period, and it will go and adjust and fix it for you. And then our office is in charge of reviewing that report and making sure that the adjustment is okay and that, you know, whatever it's going to pay is correct, and if not, we'll take care of that. So you no longer have to go and do that manual paper form. And please don't go and do that, because if you do, you are really risking the employee being double paid. Because if you go and you submit a one-time payment for a salary miss for October or September, the only choices that you have as a one-time payment are all related to extra pay outside of 100%, extra work. So when we do our retro review, we have no idea that you paid somebody for October or September salary. And so the retro process is going to say, you didn't pay them for that month, I'm going to pay it again. And so at that point, you would have paid that employee twice for that salary missed. So that's a big change, again, that, you know, we have in Workday. So here's the new form that we started using on 9/1, and this is the only form and for the only reasons that you should submit, which is 5, I call them exceptions, you know, to not doing it automatically through Workday. The main thing are accrued wages and sick time off payouts on death benefits, vacation holiday time off payouts, any emoluments, which is any of your tax withholding on non-salary compensation items, and that's only for employees that have terminated, have retired, somebody that works for another department and not yours, or if you want to gross it up and pay the taxes on behalf of the employee. Also FLSA comp payout, and then in the miscellaneous, you can do the relocation payouts if you're going to do gross. If you're going to do a relocation and your department pays for the taxes. So that would be the only time that you use that. Some of the final thoughts for payroll. Remember that the retro deadlines are earlier than the current deadlines and that they are different. So, you know, that would answer a lot of questions. Extra pay in Workday is either a one-time payment or a compensation change, is no longer on a paper form. Please run and review your reports. It is pretty sad to say that we have heard in our office many times that liaisons do not run reports and they have never seen them. And so, you know, my question is, well, what were you doing before, right? I mean, you had to have run reports and knew what was going on. So like I said, you know, it's just a different report, but you're still kind of doing the same thing. And then the last one is review your calendars, communicate with your employees and your managers. There's a lot more responsibility now on the manager and the employee that there was before, but you continue to support that and you continue to be kind of responsible for that, because if somebody doesn't get paid, you know, they're going to come to you. So if you just communicate that out, you know, that would be a lot of help. One other thing that we started doing to kind of help you out in the transition that we thought, you know, might help, we are now sending, you'll probably receive emails from Scott Ritter. He's sending emails to all the HR liaisons that we have as payroll contacts we're sending emails with all the payroll deadlines. So every deadline that you saw on the calendar, on every day, so like tomorrow, you should get an email from Scott that says, today, the timesheets for retro are due, and so on. I mean, you're going to get all those emails. And I'm sorry, but they're good emails. They're not trash, believe me. You know, there's a lot of people that like them. If you would like to get them and you don't get them, send payroll processing at TAMU an email and say, hey, add me to their payroll reminder emails. So, you know, I hope that you're doing the same thing with those managers and employees, because for now, let's just kind of help them out until they get a little bit more comfortable and, you know, and using all that. That's all I have. Any questions? No?
This is not a question.
Great. As we're wrapping up, I told you that your name tags were going to come into play. That's about to happen. We do want to thank you guys for coming today, enduring the rain and the extra long HR Liaison Network meeting today. What we are going to do now is on your name tag, there is a little pink number. What we're going to do is hit the little generate button, and if your number pops up, you're going to win one of our door prizes. It's one of our Wellness Works bags that includes a Fitbit Flex 2. Woo! And you get extra points for running down the aisle like Price is Right if you win. So Laura is going to be our puncher, and Mary is going to be our Vanna Whites. That's not on Price is Right, but... Go generate. 78. Woo! Okay, and before we generate our next number, I would ask that if you guys could just pick up any trash or other things that are around you before you leave. There's a garbage can and a recycle bin right before you walk out the door. That would help us out tremendously. So let's see who wins our final door prize. 107. Yes! You should run it up loud. Again, thank you guys. I hope you guys got the theme today that we are here to help you, and we have ways for you guys to get in touch with us. Have a great afternoon and be safe.